Hello everyone. Sorry I'm not very good at making videos. I'm kind of learning how to do it. But I don't really like being on camera all that much. But I feel like the message that I have for people is quite important, and the public, everyone means so much to me. And I think that everyone deserves a bit of an insight into the world of paranormal. Now you have your 3D world, and we all deal with bills and taxes and, relationships and children. But we often don't open ourselves up to the world that also exists around us, but we often can't touch it, feel it, hear it. But it's there. It's open for everyone to access. And I have an EMF detector here. I'm trying to keep it away from my phone. This phone doesn't ring in at all, but anything can pick up that's electrical. See? So if I keep it away, it will not register. But hopefully we have some spirit friends here. Yeah, we always do, right? That might want to talk with us. So, or listen to the story, because even non-human spirits love stories. They love to watch people and their lives if they find them interesting. But not to be a jerk. Most non-humans find people's lives pretty boring. And not that you have to do anything crazy for them to take interest, because a lot of them don't like the murder and mayhem, because to them that's actually kind of human predictable behavior. They love the hero story. Just like every other human, most humans, they love stories of like outright going from super selfish and bad to acts of true altruism and being a hero and completely changing. That is just fascinating. It's fascinating to the living, but it's also fascinating to non-human spirits, both of this planet and not of this planet, other coordinates and dimensions, you name it. They find us fascinating, and we find them fascinating. So I wanted to read you a story that I wrote, because it's based on a picture of a peace pipe. A friend of mine whose wife is a nurse, and she was in the area where this pipe was left, and she happened to take a picture of it. So I'm going to read you the story, and you can please like this video, leave comments, and I'll try to answer all questions, but please, 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 please be kind in the comments. Please don't be a hater. Don't hate on me. Please don't send me things about any religion, because I'm a very spiritual person, and oftentimes people saying stuff tends to come off very judgy, which is also a very negative energy, which attracts darker things. When you're judgy, you're attracting darker things. So just keep that in mind. Fill your comments with love and questions and wonderment, because when it comes down to it, we all can kind of perceive things in our own way, but even our own perceptions can be tested and debunked. See, they like that. So what you think and you feel and you perceive to be right can still always be questioned and debunked. So all my answers to you is from what I have up to this point have perceived to be correct for myself, and it may be different for you. So here's the story. It's called the Peace Pipe Story. This is a true story. And in the summer of 2013, my daughter Mira and I, we were leading groups of people through the historic St. Anthony, Maine area. Now, this area is in Minneapolis. It's right by the river, the Mississippi River. Okay, the tour guide company was called the Real Ghost Tours. And when we would take groups of people, we would weave history and ghost stories, and we would walk around the old buildings right next to the Mississippi River. And these old buildings were built in about 1880s, but there were people that came to that area as early as the 1600s, like 1680s. The first was a Catholic friar. And he came looking for the next Niagara Falls, and he found the Mississippi Falls. And there he met Native Americans that he called the most remarkable people because they just were so kind. And he actually decided to stay with them for a year and study their ways. So, okay, so long ago, long gone, were the portage trails that the Native Americans would use to bypass the once Mississippi Falls. Now, those falls were extremely wide. At one point, they were pretty high, but because of erosion, being that it was sandstone, the falls started to shrink and wear away as time went by. It also would move. Because it did start up by Fort Snelling, and then it made its way all the way by what was we now call St. Anthony, Maine. Long gone was Spirit Island, a small wooded patch of land nestled on big rocks at the base of the falls that was the epicenter for nesting eagles and majestic Native American spiritual practices. It was said through oral tradition that a great serpent-like spirit of the water lived under the falls, guarding the entrance of the underworld. Back in the 1890s, as white settlers came in scores, they dismissed these beliefs and destroyed the falls, destroyed Spirit Island to make way for buildings and commerce. So if you can imagine, what they did was, and there was even an article in the 1890s newspaper at the time that people had built a plank from the shore to Spirit Island, and they were stealing the rocks from Spirit Island. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I just can't believe people do stuff like that, and it makes me just in amazement how inconsiderate people can be. So they pretty much took what was the Taj Mahal of spiritual beliefs to the Native Americans, and they used that stone to build their buildings. Unbelievable. Okay, now I have to find my place. Not only was there barely a trace of these significant spiritual places left, but the native people were tricked and forced off their most preciously preserved places of worship and gatherings. My daughter and I would relay this information on the tour as I felt close to the native spirits. They told me they were mourning their great loss of land and river, even though they had been long gone. So this is very true. I would use a recorder and other devices. And I would speak with many Native American spirits who, some were forced into prostitution, others were killed by the hands of white settlers. So it was just a terrible loss and tragically unfair. In May of 2013, during the course of our ghost tours, we picked up on a recorder direct threats made by unsettled spirits. They predicted many things in the past that came true, so I worried these threats may come to fruition. Now, in specifically, I had talked to the serpent spirit, which was non-human, and he did make predictions that did come true. Some of them were people on the tour, and others were just about life in general, who was going to be president, what was going to happen in our society, civil unrest, buildings on fire, stuff like that. But then he also made kind of a threat. One of the threats was that within 6 months, the buildings we were doing tours in would flood. I had asked my daughter Mira how that was possible. I was like, well, would the river indeed swell so high that it would flood inside the businesses? Some of the businesses like the Astor Cafe, our tour guide business. Mira was then showing the serpent being the serpent being that guarded the water and the entrance of the underworld. She said it was a gigantic caterpillar dragon type creature, and it was being shrouded and wrapped. She didn't know what this meant, but it was a type of cocoon, and then this area was going through a metamorphosis along with the beings that was inhabited the area for eons. Now this is really interesting, and I don't want to lose my place, but you have to understand this area went through just immense amount of commerce right away. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was a very successful area. But then in the mid 1900s to even just 10, 15 years ago, it was the most crime-ridden, dilapidated area, and they couldn't figure out why. I mean, this was prime real estate right next to the Mississippi, right next to downtown. And all their efforts of trying to gentrify it was always led to bad luck, fires, weird stuff, crime. No matter what, they just couldn't seem to gentrify the area. So she said to me, Mom, this is not good. Whatever happens will not be good unless something is done. But what? What can we do? We're just two female tour guides. Now, my daughter at the time was very open. She was young. She was about, I think, 14. She could see and hear spirits, like you're seeing and hearing me right now. She was very gifted. I could when I was younger, but my gifts was more being sentient, feeling them, hearing them, but on the most part, except for rare occasions, I could not actually see them. And I say rare occasions because I have seen many spirits, but that's not my gift. That's not my thing. But she could see and hear them and communicate with them in real time, which is such a great gift. Anyway, the spirit, so then we met a native elder spirit. The spirit talked of what was taken and And the many spirits, both human and non-human, were angry and restless, and that a ceremony had to be done, that we would be guided and instructed as to do it exactly and precisely how it needed to be done to make peace with the land and the restless spirits. But we didn't act right away. We sat on this information and we pondered whether or not we should go along with this and act. That October 30th, I'd come to work in the morning to pick up a paycheck, and the whole complex and surrounding area was flooded. I suddenly became filled with dread. How could this be possible? There were news crews there even filming the disaster. My good friend, Kurt Hansen, who has now since passed away, greeted Mira and I and told us that a water main had been ripped apart and the responding fire department had never seen anything like it. He took us directly to where the water main was broken apart, and there was this enormous pipe that looked like something had separated it with their bare hands. Kurt said, the janitor was sweeping the floor last night in the long hallway and heard a rush of noise. He turned, and coming at him was a tidal wave of water that picked him up and carried him until it slammed him into these doors at the end of the hallway. So he showed us the doors that the janitor's body had broken because of the force of water. It was so much water. I was shocked, and I said, Kurt, remember the spirit voice recordings I got a few months back about the threats with water and the flooding? He nodded and said it had to be them, as no living human could separate a main water pipe like that. Mira and I felt that we could no longer sit on this, and we had to contact the native elder spirit for directions as to what we should do. That winter became like a wild scavenger hunt. We were sent all over to gather feathers, tobacco, specific rocks, medicine bags, different herbs, and most importantly, we had to find the perfect peace pipe. At times the tests we were put through were grueling, but we knew it was a test, and it was important that we didn't let this native elder spirit down. I can't stress this enough, because we screwed up a lot. And we added things and we improvised, and from what we were told, we had to listen and follow instructions, because this native elder spirit also wanted to bring peace and healing to the land, and with both non-human, human, dead, and also living. And so we really were sent on a wild goose chase scavenger hunt, and we got a lot of things right, but we also got a lot of things wrong. The pipe we needed for the peace ceremony had to be pure. It had to be handpicked by the elder spirit and put through a very specific ritual of awakening the pipe by saying certain prayers, smoking it, and then wrapping it with specific ties and a feather and burying it where it will be gifted to not only the restless spirits, but the restless land. To not do so would lead in more disasters that paled in comparison to the flood, or so the elder spirit informed us. Now, I don't think this was a threat from the elder spirit. This was the elder spirit knowing that more bad things, right, okay, it wasn't a threat, it was just more bad things would happen if we couldn't bring peace to this area. I took Mira, my recorder, and an EMF device that measures the magnetic field when spirit energy is present. This would help us get absolute affirmations that what we were doing was indeed on the right path. I went to various places to find the perfect peace pipe. Once I found a pipe, the elder spirit agreed that it would be adequate and we then had to rehearse the ritual many times with precise instructions from the elder spirit. We were told that we had to acknowledge the 4 directions, then above, below, and within. We had to wear long skirts, and we could not be menstruating or on our moon. Again, when we were told things, there were things we didn't quite understand, like why the elder spirit had an issue with what we were wearing when we were not wearing skirts, or why there was an issue with one of us being on their period, which the elder spirit called our moon. There was all these different things that we, rules that we had to abide by for this to be okay. It had to be on a day that the moon eclipsed the sun, and it had to be as close to where the falls once were before white man redirected it and built a cement apron, thus disrupting its natural flow. We practiced and practiced and took out the pipe, stuffed it with tobacco, and lit it. That was not good. Remember, because I had told you that we were told the pipe had to be pure. And I guess we didn't listen, so we wanted to practice the ritual and smoking the pipe, and so it was like a several $100 perfectly pipestone cut pipe, and so we screwed that up. Suddenly, the elder became angry with me, and I was told the pipe was now unclean and would not be accepted. I spent hundreds on this pipe and was not happy. How did we screw up so bad? We were told the pipe had to be awakened only on the day it was offered, which was the day the moon eclipsed the sun. I then went on the hunt for another pipe. I had my good friend Richard, who was a Native American shaman, take me to Cosmos, Minnesota, where many Native American pipes were sold. As I walked through the large store, I was led to this beautiful, light, multicolored buffalo pipe. The pipestone was so light, it looked like a white buffalo. It was over $300, but I knew that although it stretched my wallet and we'd be eating ramen noodles at home for a while, it was just perfect. As Richard and I returned from Cosmos with the pipe beautifully wrapped up in the way the spirit elder had instructed, a huge eagle swooped down on the car like it was going to grab one of us and carry us away. "Quickly, get my tobacco pipe and leave an offering," Richard exclaimed. "This is a sign, and we must get the spirit's tobacco and say thank you." I reached in the side door and took out a tobacco pinch and threw the tobacco in the air, shouting, "Thank you, eagle spirit." This time I would not let the elder spirit down and screw up. Mir and I would do exactly what we were told, when we were told to do it, and hopefully what emerged from that non-human serpent water being's cocoon was not a vengeful and angry being, but one of peace that would allow the restless spirits to pass into a great land beyond the ether that felt like an endless, sublime summer day. It now was coming up on the spring of 2014, and Mir and I felt ready. Towards the end of April, there would be a lunar eclipse, and on that day, we took salt baths and readied ourselves with long skirts, food offerings, special herb medicines, drums, tobacco, and most importantly, the peace pipe. We started our march down the wooded path by the Mississippi, singing and playing our instruments. The elder was very pleased. We were told to stop at a certain spot, and this is where the pipe would be awakened, smoked, and then rewrapped, gifted, and buried. We started with acknowledging the 4 directions, above, and then above, below, and within. We offered our gifts and then prayed over the pinch of tobacco, asking for peace to come to the restless land and the restless spirits, and for forgiveness. We put the tobacco inside the pipe, said a few words, and lit it, praying for the serpent water spirit to metamorphose into a being that would allow the spirits to pass peacefully into the next world. We then wrapped the pipe with deerskin laces that dangled and a feather that looked like a fish. We buried the pipe and felt a gentle breeze pass through us. Mira said, the elder spirit is saying our efforts were accepted. We have achieved peace and is grateful. I couldn't help but cry of relief. And still I get choked up about it. I guess if you knew how dangerous that place was and unhappy that area was, but even though we were sent on that nerve-wracking adventure and Mira said everything was accepted and they were grateful, do we really ever truly know? Does this peace have an expiration date? Did we help at all? Many years later, I was at a friend's apartment over in the St. Anthony Falls area. My friend Shanna told me her husband's friend had moved into a new apartment building in the St. Anthony, Maine Falls area. She was a nurse and did not give the paranormal much thought. One day in her apartment, she had a strange feeling she was not alone. She felt the urge to snap a picture. There in the photo was a shrouded Native American peace pipe. It was wrapped with many ties and a feather that's shaped like a fish. That night, my friend Shanna told me she would send me the picture the next day, and she sent it this morning, and I was instantly brought to tears. There was our pipe. All these years later, an affirmation was sent to me that indeed those spirits found their way to an eternal summerland, and I am truly grateful. So on the picture is a shrouded, wrapped ghost pipe. I mean, it's now was sent into the ether, gifted to the spirits. And what she captured on her camera was this apparition of the peace pipe, even right to the feather, right to the feather shaped like a fish, and all the ties. All the deerskin ties wrapping the shroud around the gifted pipe. Unbelievable. Truly, just truly unbelievable. And how it this picture made its way to me through so many people blows my mind. And I often say, spirit works in ways that are so mysterious and so incredible. Oftentimes people ask me, are my spirit guides around me? Are there spirits around me? Are they looking out for me? And you actually have to take time to sit down or even half lay down, and you have to make the effort to tap into the ether and to find these things out. I can tell you yes, but it's the responsibility of each individual to tap into their own spirituality and make an effort to see that indeed there is a very active presence around most human beings, and but you have to take the time, you have to make the effort. And it is important that if you do feel land to be restless or unhappy, make an effort to try and heal the land through ceremony, through prayer, and it is possible that you can heal land, and inadvertently you're also protecting and healing the living as well. So that's my story, that's my video. Again, if you have any questions, Make sure you leave them in the comment section, but please be nice. Because, you know, why not, right? You don't want to spread negativity. There's too much already. So thanks again, guys. And I look forward to making my next video. Thanks, spirits. Oh, they had to say goodbye too.